Welcome to the Hacking Your Health podcast with Ben Canning and Dave Kennedy. Two guys heading out to hack body, mind, business, and beyond. We are here to provide a single source, bullshit-free guide to understanding your body and how you can live better for longer.
Yo! Okay, so we're back with a bonus episode. Today marks mine and Dave's 1 year coaching anniversary. I was going to get party hats, but I didn't think that many people were going to watch it on YouTube. So we can maybe superimpose some on. So yeah, basically today we're just going to do a bit of a recap over the past year, the different things that we've done, the benefits of it, how Dave feels from when he started until now, and I have a couple of questions, and we have a couple of questions from Twitter as well. So this one's going to be slightly different. I feel like I'm interviewing you, if you want, but I'm Ben Canning.
And I'm Dave Kennedy.
And this is Hacking Your Health.
Hacking Your Health.
Okay, so I guess we need to go back a year. I think we have sort of touched on this, but just in case anybody hasn't listened to any of the previous episodes or whatever, how it all came about initially was I added you on Facebook, weird timing, we got into a conversation, we were on the phone 20 minutes later, and then we were signed up. And I think probably that's something that I want to touch on, that, you know, whenever I have that initial coaching call with someone, it's just to get an idea is that, number one, if I can help a person, but number two, if it's going to be a good fit. And I sort of felt like right away you were the all-in sort of person, which to me is the ideal client. As the year has gone on, I don't think I ever could have imagined how much of that all-in you were, but I definitely think that, you know, everything that we've done up until this point, you went all in on. So I'll hand it over to you in terms of just a bit of an idea as to where you were at before we had that call, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, you know, I've always been the type of person that, even when I was a kid, doesn't like to let people down, right? That's kind of like my feeling inside, I guess, right? You know, like I will do anything to go the extra mile to help somebody out or to, it's like built into my DNA, right? And I think when I was looking for a coach, it was a reach out for help in a way that allowed me to have somebody that, you know, would be accountable for me and I'd be accountable to them, right? And I wouldn't let them down, right? And that's what I was kind of looking at that point in time where I kind of hit really one of my lowest points in my health, right? You know, we'd kind of gone through this in the podcast, but I'd got a gastric sleeve bypass to try to adjust, you know, for my weight gain, because I had heart surgery to, you know, correct what was called low atrial fibrillation, you know, and by the way, crazy friggin' surgery, man. I was awake the entire time. I could see inside of my heart. They rode like a catheter down my blood vessels. It's amazing what they can do. I'm like, that's my heart, you know, but yeah. And I actually have one, which is really cool. So. You know, the biggest thing, you know, if you reverse a year ago, and this is, you know, prior to really, I mean, COVID was just kind of coming out, right? I think it was the big thing here. And, you know, I was looking at myself and I was looking at, you know, what I was eating. I'm like, man, I'm trying to eat healthy. I'm eating salads. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I'm like lifting some weights and I'm trying this diet or I'm trying intermittent fasting. And I'm still gaining weight, and I'm still not happy with my body. I'm not happy with myself. I had brain fog. I had really bad brain fog, by the way. Like I'd wake up just like tired, achy, you know, not being able to perform, you know, just you know, like day-to-day activities. It was just a really low point, I guess, in my life. And that reach out, like when you reached out, it was really a really nice sign, because it was, you know, for me, it was, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Right, with my body or myself, I'm obviously falling apart. You know, I'm obviously not feeling great. I obviously don't have confidence in myself, the way I look, how I feel, my mental clarity to be a CEO of several companies. You know, all of these things were hitting me all at once. And, you know, I lack motivation. My kids would go to sports. I just want to hang out on the couch. You know, my entire, you know, life was really around, you know, just not feeling great, right? Every day, wake up, you know, achy, sore, painful, you know, not doing anything, you know, I mean, I'm still achy, sore, and painful. I don't understand. And so I think when I first reached out to you, and again, people come in from different angles in this. I was not obese at this point in time, but I was I think when I joined, I was like 212 or 210 or something like that.
Yeah, 210. I sent you the photo at the weekend. 210. Yeah,
I was 210 pounds when I started, which may not seem bad. 6'7", or I'm sorry, not 6'7", 6'4". 6'7" would be awesome. I wouldn't mind being that tall, but it'd be better at basketball. But I was 6'4", 210 pounds. And when you look at a picture of me, it was the heaviest I had gotten since my surgery. I couldn't figure out how to decrease the weight. I'd fluctuate and just go up. And it's the same problem I'd always struggled with. And I knew it was time for a change. And that's really when we met and we started going. And I remember the first call we had, I'm like, who the F is this guy? And what does he know? But one thing that I noticed really quickly was it wasn't about, hey, I'm trying to get another client. It was, hey, what are you struggling with and where do you want to be? And really understanding where I was at. And I knew that just hearing your intentions and what you wanted to accomplish and what drove you, during that call really helped me make a quick decision, which, I always have trusted my gut and trusted my ability to interact with people and kind of judge whether or not they're good characters. It doesn't always work. I've met people I thought were great and were horrible people. You're not one of those. You're an awesome person, but it all worked out, and I'm a much better person because of that meeting we had, for you reaching out, and better than I've ever been in my entire life, best shape of my entire life, the best way I'm feeling my entire life. 39 years old, and I feel like I'm in my 18, 19, 20-year-old again, even though I didn't feel great when I was 18, 19, or 20. So I feel better than I did in my teens, my teens.
Yeah. Okay. So actually, just as a bit of a sort of side note, one thing that you mentioned there in terms of reaching out for help, and this is something that I have sort of noticed within my past 5 years of coaching, that as a male, it's often difficult to accept that you need help. And, making that step to actually ask for help. So was there a bit of a barrier or like a bit of a resistance there in terms of like, shit, right, okay, I'm at this point. I need help. I need to ask somebody to help me here, because I feel like men, it just seems to be like, I've coached a lot of females and I've coached a lot of males, but females are a lot more quick to, or they will ask for help a lot quicker than males do. So was there a sort of like mental barrier there in terms of like, I need to ask someone here?
There really was. And that's not just from a personal training perspective. I generally have trouble asking people for help, right? Whether it's directions or going to my doctor, like, hey, I have this massive lump in my left shoulder, but I'm sure it's fine. It's like, I hate going to the doctor. I do much better now. I mean, I go get my blood work done, frequently, and testing everything I'm doing. And I've done a much better job of myself because I do that. But I really struggle with that help aspect of things because, I feel like, in the military, I was taught, hey, you have to be strong. You have to be committed. You can do it yourself, but you also rely on camaraderie too, which is, kind of a catch-22 when you're in the military and you get out. And you're like, well, hey, I don't need help from anybody anymore. And that's not the case. You having help from somebody isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength, in my opinion, because you are, in order to learn something, it'd be like, hey, somebody coming out from a caveman trying to build the new Intel processor. Well, that's not going to happen, right? You need to learn what the history is of computers and how it's been built and learn from experts that have already done. And then maybe you have some innovative idea that makes it better, right? And so, I think when you look at the fitness journey that we had, yeah, I was checking on a number of different programs. I was looking at, and by the way, I had tried a number of different programs. I had tried the Shaun T's Insanity. I had tried keto. I had tried, prior to that was Atkins diet, right? I had tried intermittent fasting. I had tried, all of these different variations of diets and programs that were out there that were literally self-help programs, right? And that's what they are. They're self-help programs. But, to me, if you're going to diet, you should be an extreme expert at understanding your body and what you're trying to accomplish with it in order for that diet to be successful. If you want to try keto, for example, I was just listening to the Joe Rogan podcast, and they had she's a doctor that specializes in nutrition and body and chemistry and everything else. And she was talking about how hard she tried the keto diet and she's still doing it. And she's like, people don't even recognize that they're not even in ketosis and how hard it really is to actually stay in ketosis to reap the benefits of what intermittent fasting does. I'm sorry, not intermittent fasting, but what keto does. And, you know, like diets to me are expert level things, not something that you should be going in from an introductory perspective and trying to self-help yourself. So for me, you know, reaching out was really my last ditch effort, you know, at trying to be successful with my health. And I honestly feel if I would have failed at this, I would have never came back to it again, because I was at my last point, right?
Yeah, I think another sort of perspective that I picked up on something you said last week when we spoke was, you know, you were talking about the coaching process and the place that you're in now, and, you know, is it something you could do yourself? Yes, 100%. But almost, you know, if you're thinking it from a business perspective, in business, you delegate the tasks that, you know, other people are better suited for. So in a sort of roundabout way, asking for help almost allowed you to delegate somebody to be in charge of your training and in charge of your nutrition. So just from a different perspective, it sort of fits that bill, I guess.
Yeah. And it's, you know, when you start to look at kind of the historical issues that I've had with my health journey, right? It's, you know, I look back at it, I'm like, man, what was I doing? You know, like what was I thinking? But the information that you have available to you is quick fix things that, you know, like New Year's resolutions, or take this pill and you're going to lose weight, or do this and it's going to magically transform you. And that just doesn't work. It doesn't happen. It's not how we're designed to operate or work. And there's nothing that we can't accomplish if we put our minds to it and commit to it. Right. And yes, I am an extreme on when I go all in on something, I go all in, like literally that's it. Like there's no other thing that I'm going to be focusing on. But at the same time, those things become part of my life, you know, like understanding the foundation of bourbon and stuff like that. I love that, right? I love the science behind alcohol and things like that. Doesn't mean I like to drink alcohol all the time. Might have some beers at the bachelor party I was at earlier this week. But you know, like, but the things that I have kind of gone all in on stay a part of me for the rest of my life, right? And this is something I know that it will stay a part of me with the success I've had for the rest of my life, and even hopefully continue on to my 70s, 80s, and 90s. I want to be, you know, I want to deadlift 500 pounds when I'm 92, man. Let's see if I can do it. Let's see if I can, you know, like, I still want to beat you first, though.
No, well, that's why I actually texted you to ask if you got your lift on today, because I'm going to wait and tell you what I lifted. And once I see what you lifted, then I'll tell you what I lifted.
So my theory is I'm going to do, all right, whatever Ben thinks I'm going to lift plus 10 plus 10.
This is going to get out of hand. I was actually talking about it earlier on. I was like, you know, we have this outline of this plan that we're totally disregarding because we're not just in competition with each other.
Yeah, it's literally like, hey, you should be doing 385. Okay, so I'm going to do 405. Now I'm going to do 415 just in case.
You know. Like, what weight would Dave do if he was trying to beat me? So I need to beat that, and I'm like calculating it. Okay, right. So we've sort of touched on that and got a bit of an idea as to where you were whenever you started. To sort of come back to it, what areas in your life do you think were holding you back from sort of reaching your full potential on the training, nutrition, health journey that you're on?
Well, I think you know, every aspect of my life was kind of disorganized. It was, you know, every aspect of my life wasn't around me. It wasn't around my body. It wasn't around my health. It wasn't around my longevity. It was around what was happening in my life day to day, right? It was, you know, hey, I have work, I have this, you know, and I wasn't looking at it from a long-term view of what I wanted to be or be there for my kids, or, you know, stay healthy and feel great about myself. And it might seem like it's egotistical, I guess, you know, to say, hey, I'm doing this for myself. But, you know, when you look at what you want to accomplish, I'm doing this for myself, yes, but with the benefits of being there for my kids and being interactive with my kids and being able to go out and play with them and do things that I wouldn't be able to do,
and
you know, previously in the past. Yeah, and that's right. And carry all the groceries in one trip. You know, that's, you know, it's literally
the priority of why we train.
That's why we train. Mason, you know, I'll tell you this story. I told you this once, but you know, Mason asked me, he's like, Dad, why do you lift heavy weights? I'm just really curious, because he's like, it looks cool, but why do you do it? And I'm like, buddy, it's so I can get all the groceries in one trip, man. That's what we're supposed to do. And he's like, oh, that makes perfect sense now. I get it. And that was it. I was like, oh, you're so cute, man.
Mind blowing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, again, just to sort of touch on that, we've had this conversation before about you maybe feel like it's selfish taking that time to yourself, but it ends up being a selfless act. And the way I'd always put it back, and I said this recently on a call with a potential client, that it's the put your own oxygen mask on first analogy from, when you're on a plane and they go through that sort of emergency briefing at the start, that they ask you to make sure you put your own oxygen mask on first, because at the end of the day, without that and without you, you're no use to anybody else. So if you sort of have that mentality, okay, maybe yes, it does seem selfish at the time because life's busy, family life's busy, work's busy, and you have all these other people looking at you for attention. But taking that sort of time out, ultimately what you can then give back to them and how long you can do it for will be improved.
Yeah. And taking that time for yourself really allows you to optimize what you're doing in the rest of your life, whether it's, your business aspects of working, whether it's, your mental clarity. Like I haven't had brain fog since I've been on this journey. Like my brain fog's gone, but in fact, my brain fires on full cylinders all the time. I'm more energetic. I feel like I'm more of a person than I was before. I remember when I first started in the security industry, getting up and talking, that rush feeling that you get speaking in front of people. And, I started losing that, not from a motivation perspective, just from an energy perspective. I felt like, when I'd go out and present, I wasn't the same type of person energy-wise of being able to communicate, and that my thoughts would be all garbled around and I wouldn't be able to communicate my messages, and all of that is just like crystal clear. I'm 5 steps ahead of my mind before I even say something now. And that's not because I'm taking drugs or anything, it's like, it's literally because I'm optimizing my body to be who I want to be. And the healthy body equates to a healthy mind. And I think, going through this progress, and I think, what people really struggle with, at least from what I see, is where do I start, right? Like, how do I start? What do I start doing? I just had a friend reach out to me and said, hey, he wants to start on the whole fitness journey. And he had asked me, hey, should I start taking testosterone? And I'm like, no, man, that's not going to fix your problems. Like, testosterone is a great thing if you're doing other things right. It's not going to fix all of the issues that you've historically done to your body. You need to eat right. You need to, put some weight training in place, get your body into a position where it's able to work and operate the way it's designed to. And if you're successful in that, look at optimizing your body around testosterone and other things like that, that if you're low, a lot of men aren't low that don't need testosterone, right? Like, for me, I was in extremely low state, and we'll get into testosterone stuff in later episodes, but maximizing my body is one of those things where once you understand that and you're putting in the work, you want to maximize it even better, to perform and to, beat everything you've done before. And so all those things come into play, but, getting started really comes down to nutrition, which Ben and I talked. I think we're going to do 2 podcasts dedicated to nutrition, because that is just such an important piece of this whole puzzle. Like, getting your food intake under control is literally 80% of what you need to do, right? Yeah. And then the rest of it is putting in the work.
Yeah, I think, just to touch on the testosterone thing, like, people think that they see this one thing that is going to solve all their problems. And, it's the same in the supplement thing. I've been on a call like, well, what supplements should I take? And I'm like, eat your fucking food first, eat your proper food first, start with that. And there's sort of like a hierarchy that we can touch on, in terms of like orders that we should go through the process. And I think probably one of the biggest things is people just try to overcomplicate it to begin with, when it doesn't need to be complicated to start. You just need to make a decision that you're going to do it and then follow through with what you're saying. I just want to circle back to what you're saying about the brain fog thing, because it was something that I did note that I wanted to touch on. Obviously, initially from an investment perspective, whether investing in obviously me as a coach, but also the time in yourself, like, what other benefits have you seen apart from the physical change? So, you're talking about mental clarity and brain fog in there. So is there anything that sort of surprised you in terms of like the changes that you felt that you didn't expect, rather than just the physical side of things?
Well, one is I feel like I'm a better leader than I ever have been before, and there's reasons for that. So just to give you kind of an example of where I was to where I am today, I'd be in a meeting and I would feel mentally exhausted. So you're having a meeting with, let's just say, your leadership team, and all this discussion is going on, and during that period of time, I would just feel sluggish, tired, not really wanting to be there, not wanting to interact. And that's a problem, right? When you're in a leadership position, is you need to be there working with your team collaboratively and bringing that energy and making sure that everybody else is on the full side, or else the rest of them start to feel the same way too. And, I remember being in meetings and I'd just be like, oh, I'm just tired. I just can't think right. I'm just like, yeah, this is great, but I got other stuff I'm worrying about, and I got this and I got that, and I'm all over the place, and I just can't figure this out. And, it was more of a confusion piece. And I actually went to my doctor, for brain fog. I'm like, listen, I can't concentrate. I can't focus on things. I can't do this. I can't do that. And they're like, well, here's some possible drugs that we can put you on, to help you out with the brain fog. And here's what we can do here and there. And, but ultimately, we need to kind of figure out what the problem is, for that brain fog of occurring. Maybe we can adjust we can look at your vitamins and maybe adjust some of your food, or maybe you could take a multivitamin that might help out. So there's all this stuff being thrown at me that I didn't understand or comprehend. And I can tell you, I was just on a meeting today. We had a culture meeting today, and we part of our at Trusted Sec, we have a team that basically meets together to talk about the culture of the company and what we can do to help folks out that might be burning out, or come up with new ideas to keep things fun and exciting for them, to go over mission and values and make sure that we're still promoting that in the company, especially as we start to grow. And just take a pulse of the company. It's made of, various different folks within the organization, men, women, you name it, just all over the place. Just trying to understand, hey, how's the company doing and what can we do to improve? And, a year ago, I probably wouldn't have been at that meeting and been very quiet and, just kind of understanding what everybody's perspectives were and then kind of going from there, right? Today I was, bouncing off the walls. I was super energetic, having dialogue, making jokes. Everybody's laughing. Everybody's having a great time. The whole dynamic of the meeting completely changed. And that is something that is not just a business meeting thing, but it also happens with my kids. It happens with my ability to get things done. Like I'm telling you, like if I put my mind to something, my schedule for the day, I execute. And I execute every single aspect of that. Granted, I totally missed our podcast earlier today.
But we're here. We made it. It's fine.
We already made it. I'm so sorry I didn't get in my calendar. But I execute all of those things, to my fullest potential. And I think that's the big difference, is that it's not just the body aspect of things. That's great. I love feeling strong. I love feeling big. I love feeling muscular. But the benefits that you get energy-wise, clarity-wise, and everything else, and how it impacts your day-to-day life is ultimately we're here to feel good about ourselves. We feel good waking up in the morning, feel good about going to bed. It's accomplishing something every single day and moving towards that longer-term goal. And that's absolutely something I can say that this health journey has helped me with substantially.
Yeah, I think, being able to provide that energy, it then becomes contagious. Do you know what I mean? Whether it's in a work or family or friends, that energy that you provide becomes contagious to the people that you surround yourself with. And I guess that leads me into the next question. Obviously people have noticed the physical change, hundreds of people on Twitter and everything else, like it's undeniable, the physical change. But is there any aspect, or has there been any people who've come back to you and noticed other changes in yourself that, you're talking about your energy, and I was like, do people come back to you and say, oh, I've really noticed this X, Y, and Z in you since then? Like, is there anything along that lines that isn't just the physical change?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one thing I'll say about it too is that it not only has impacted me, but it's also impacted my family as well. My family, we eat healthier. We understand what we're putting in our bodies.
Even the guinea pigs?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's great because, my kids are like, oh, I shouldn't be eating this at night because it's basically all sugar, right? And I should be focusing on protein and this type of stuff. When my son gets done with a massive workout, he's like, Dad, I got to go get my protein shake. I'm like, cool, buddy, let's go get it. Or let's go eat a steak, whatever, So they're recognizing it. And Aaron too, I mentioned in the last podcast, like the meal prep stuff. I use this thing called Zavala, which they send you your food and stuff like that. And you kind of, put in the thing, but there's super healthy, options for that. And Erin is on that too. So, I'd purchased it first. She ate a couple of them and she's like, this is really good. It's perfect. She's eating those. So we're eating healthy, throughout. So, it's made a lifestyle change in our family. And that wasn't my intention. Like, I never wanted to force my all in thing to my family, but they saw the benefits of me with it, and they see that as well. And then I'm trying to be, there. And so Aaron, is aboard. Our kids are on board. They want to optimize themselves to be better. So it's definitely have an impact there. When it comes to people interacting with me and giving me compliments, not necessarily on the physical aspects, but just me being a different person, they absolutely, I get it all the time. We're like, man, like, you're just like a completely different person, not just in the physical side, but how you interact and your energy and everything else that you're doing. Like I have another business that I work on. It's in the basketball side of the house, right? It's completely unrelated to cybersecurity. And, like I'll be there and I'll just be like, having a good time and building things and carrying things up and moving back and forth. And they're just like, and I remember one of the guys, Craig, was like, dude, like, he's like, first of all, you seem like you have unlimited energy. He's like, I would be dead at this point in time. But second, he's like, it's just funny because, like, you're a completely different person than you were a year ago for your attitude, how you address things, how you go after things. It's just, it has really helped out on a lot of areas, and I get compliments all the time for it.
Good, perfect. That's what we want. I think just as a sort of side note, that for you, for yourself, what would you say is the most surprising change that you felt in yourself? Like something that you just total curveball, didn't expect?
I would say my competitiveness is one for sure.
No shit. I feel that too.
I have never in my entire life been a competitive person at all. Never at all. Like not even a little bit of competitiveness in me. And I don't know if that's because, just I didn't have a position to be competitive at something, or if I looked at that as something that just wasn't me. But one thing that has really like lit a fire inside of me is not competitiveness with other people. Yes, I joke around with this and we have our own fun competitiveness. It's really competitiveness of myself. And it's how far I can push myself and can I be better than I was yesterday. I'll give you an example today. I went to Orange Theory today and I looked at my Whoop band and I looked at my recovery and I had a 92% recovery. And I said, listen, there is no reason why I can't beat myself from yesterday because my body's ready, but my mind isn't necessarily. I didn't want to get up so early to get there, but there's no reason why I can't beat myself from yesterday. And guess what? I went out there and I killed myself, and I bumped up my running. I bumped up my rowing. I bumped up my lifting just to see if I could do it to beat myself from yesterday. And that competitiveness with myself, yes, I get competitive with other people, but it's for fun. It's to see them strive and get better. Like with Chris, for example, it's to see Chris get better with himself and to have the confidence in himself that he thinks he might be able to beat me, which is not possible. But at least he might have a shred of possibility that he can beat me, right?
He's got hope dreams.
Now I'm intimidated by, okay, but I still want to beat you. But it's really that spark, that fire inside of me that lit me. But it's really weird. It transfers to everything that you do in a non-bad way. When you do something now, you want to do it the best that you can. So whether it's I'm fixing something, like before, I'll tell you, like when I would go and fix something, like in the house, I wouldn't look up something. I would just kind of half-ass it and I would just go and do it. When I do something now, it's like all in fixing it, making sure it's done properly, it's done well. I'm measuring, I'm doing the right things, I'm making sure everything dynamic-wise works. Like we went on an RV trip. I have never driven an RV my entire life, right? I had no idea what the hell I was doing. I literally sat there and researched every aspect of RVs, where we were going, the location, what we're doing day to day, what I needed to pack. All of this stuff all came into play because I wanted to make sure I was all in on what I was doing. So it's really made me much more efficient, but at the same time doing things as best as I possibly can in every aspect of my life.
Cool. I think my next question was going to be, how do you feel like you have changed as a person? But I think you've just ticked all those boxes on that front.
Well, I want to be clear. It's not a bad thing, right? It's not like I'm being overly aggressive or having rage or things like that. I would say roid rage, but I don't I'm not on that. But like meatheads, whatever. You see meatheads like all screaming at each other, or whatever. But I like protein too. But anyways, it's a positive, right? It's always wanting to better myself and better the things that I do and go all in, whether it's business, whether it's life, whether it's family, whether it's You know, like I can't wait to go lift today. Like I'm excited about getting up and lifting and doing it. I was excited to go to Orange Theory. Yes, I was dragging my ass a little bit before I get there, but as soon as I take that pre-workout, man, I get those scratches. I'm ready to go. Get those scratches.
That too much. I have a very fine line in terms of tolerance of the beta-alanine. Like it is to the like 0.10th of a gram. If I do too much, it's too much. But yeah, supplements is something again that we will touch on. I think that's a whole other full day's worth of a podcast that we could probably do. But yeah, one thing again that I want to sort of touch on or ask you is like if you were to give Dave's pro tip, so it doesn't have to be anything that I've told you or taught you or even anything that I know that you do or have implemented, but one thing that you have sort of come to know that is your pro tip totally separate from me, what would it be?
That there is no secret to this, that it is purely repetition, doing the work, learning, and making yourself better every day. Like you can't look at it as I want to be skinny today because you're not going to get there today, but you're going there tomorrow. Right. And it's to me, what I really struggle with first off, working with you and every diet that I've been to is that I didn't see the progress I wanted right away. Right. I wasn't looking how I look today or what I looked like 3 months ago or whatever, you know, the journey was. It's, you know, and that's hard because you want those results today. Right. And I think, you know, if you recognize that this is a journey that you can do for the rest of your life and you can be successful with it, and you're not going to be Arnold in one day if that's who you want to be, or you're not going to be the skinny jogger that's cut, you know, with a six pack in one day. It's going to take time to get there, but you can get there. And what you're going to do today is going to be very different of what you're going to do tomorrow in this journey, right? You're going to change things. You're going to try supplements. You're going to try this. You're going to do that. You're going to try to tweak things. You're going to do things differently because you're listening to your body and you start to get more refined with what your body can do and what it can handle. But it's the repetition aspect of things that makes you successful. Repetition in nutrition, repetition in mindset, repetition in fitness, you know, every aspect of the 4 pillars that we talk about. It's literally that repetition aspect that is the biggest thing that I can do. And when we talk, you know, I hope I'm not distracting people from how much I'm working out, right? Because that's my choice, right? Like that's my choice of always wanting to just go balls to the wall with it. That doesn't need to be you. And it wasn't me when I first started. You know, when I first started.
So let's touch on that. So,
yeah.
You know, obviously I think we sort of skipped past what we've actually done in the past year, but, you know, so let's start, you know, we started this time last year, you know, what you had available equipment wise, time wise, and how that sort of evolved over the past year.
Yeah. Man, I look back, what hasn't evolved over the last year. It's crazy. It's crazy how, it's just so much. Like you look at where I was at nutritionally a year ago to today. I know without counting my calories where I'm at for the day. You know, even though I still count my calories, I know roughly. I'm not like to like the 10 calorie count, but I know roughly where I'm at and what I need to be doing and what I need to eat. Like I, you know, right before this podcast, you know, I had I went to, there's a place I go to, it's called Tropical Smoothie that I really like. And they have this great smoothies. You know, and I had 2 scoops of protein in it, 24 grams of protein. There's 12 grams for each one. And then I get a chicken wrap with it. I know, you know, roughly it's going to be around 850 calories for me for that lunch setting. Right. Which may seem like a lot, but when you're in 3,500 calories a day, it's not much. You know, for me, when I look back at where I was at, you know, getting down the food part of it was really the hardest for me at first because I really had no idea what I was eating and the amount of food that I was actually shoving in and how much that actually had an impact on my body and what I responded to from a carbs perspective to a fats to a, you know, protein perspective. I look at it as my body's an engine now and I'm feeding it the right fuel in order for me to be successful. And I have the right oil to ensure that my body's lubed up appropriately and that, I got the engine to be able to actually, you know, move it forward with the protein. So, you know, it's the things that I've learned, I think nutritionally that have had the biggest impact on myself because, you know, when I go out for a night, I went out Saturday for a bachelor party and I knew that I was going to break the bank. So I was a little bit light, you know, earlier in the day. And I still, probably went over my calorie count, but you know what? That's fine. Yeah, also, funny story. So old Dave would have totally called you in a complete panic, and saying, I'm fat again. I've gone back 6 months, from one day of just bullshit eating, right? I got on the scale, and I'm normally around 222, 223, 224-ish. I got on the scale and I was 226. And old Dave would have been like,
ISIS.
yeah, I would have been like, oh my God, I can't eat anything today. I'm going to go run. I'm going to do a 20 strain on Whoop. I'm going to do 16-mile running. I'm going to do a ruck, around the thing. I'm like, honey, Sunday, I'm gone. Just don't even rely on me for anything with the kids. I need to get this back, right? When it's just food in your stomach, And so next day I was back down to 222. It was perfectly fine. Had a little bit of rough time on the bathroom, but I think it's having that confidence in yourself that, listen, that's one day is not a big deal at all in the grand scheme of things. And guess what? I wasn't that far over. I was probably over maybe 700-800 calories after the beers that I drank and everything else. That's nothing. Yeah. So I think nutrition was a big piece. I'll tell you the workout regimens, finding what you like and what you don't like, finding out what's safe and what's not. I love that I actually can do movements now. There's some direct science behind this, and a lot of people talk about this, but it's the mind-muscle connection. And when I heard this, I'm like, oh, that's total bullshit. I'm like mind-muscle connection, that's bullshit. Like, yes, I can control my muscles. I can go like this, or I can push forward, whatever. I can do that. There is absolutely a connection that you have with your body and your mind. And when you're going in and you're focusing on isolating muscle groups and you're doing specific weight, it is an art. By every stretch of the sense. And that's why I think having somebody alongside you to help you with that is really, I'll send you videos all the time and you're like, hey, that's great, but you need to go do this slower or do this, whatever. And that's great. It's because you're I've had injuries because of improper form, putting too much weight on, for example, because you always want to shoot up as much as possible. And then you compromise your form and you jack your back up or whatever it ends up being. So I think form and technique has been a big thing. And I enjoy going down and lifting because I know what I can do. Like, I know where my max is at. I know where I'm at, and I know what I can push myself to. So that's been a big piece, I think, along this journey as well. That has been some of my biggest benefits. But the nutritional aspects, man, that is something that should literally be taught in every single elementary, middle, and high school, in college, and as part of mandatory training, in your work, because the shit that they pump through you in today's society and information is so jacked up. It really messes us up. And we have the science to fix all this stuff and help it, but it really is, hey, we have to eat right. We have to go out and do what our body is supposed to do. We have to build muscle. We have to, it's just an incredible thing that that journey that came out from yesterday to today. It's amazing.
I think the biggest thing that it boils down to is just awareness. So, in terms of the training, it's awareness of what way your body moves. And I can always tell when someone has some sort of background of either sport or, some sort of dance or something that they've done, because they're a lot more aware in their body, whereas some people don't know how to control their left arm when their right arm's doing something else. So there definitely is that awareness. And, the training video aspect of it is great. And I will always send you back a video of this is how I would do it.
Yeah.
But again,
it's always 10 times harder. It's always 10 times harder.
But that's just come over time. And you're 100% right. The mind and muscle connection thing is absolutely a thing. And it's, it's more prevalent if you think. It's easier to do it in the muscles that you can see, because you can see them moving. So if you think about your quad or your bicep or your tricep or your chest, it's easy to get the mind muscle connection because you can see it work as it's working, so you can connect it. Whereas it's harder posterior chain in your back and in your glutes, hamstrings, and things like that. But once you nail it, like, you should be able to, at any point, be able to control whatever the muscle is and take it to the point where you can feel it contract. And that's only going to, take your training to the next level. So that's the sort of the body awareness side of things, as well as, your ability to know what you can and can't do in terms of training. Like, I know we're joking about the 500-pound deadlift. Could I go and do it right now? Fuck no. I know I couldn't do it. Like, there's absolutely no way. It would be stuck to the floor.
I try every week.
Today is the day.
Today's the day.
But, that's obviously what we're aiming towards, and we're doing everything in our power to get that. And once you do your lift today, let me know what you got, and I'll tell you what I got. But that's an awareness thing, and you know, you talking about the nutrition side of things as well. You know, that's an awareness thing as well. So it's being aware of what your body needs, how many calories it's burning. You know, what time you need to eat certain foods at, how your body responds to certain foods. You know, even you being able to talk about, you know, how many calories is in this, how many grams of protein in that, and you know, it sort of feeds back to what we were talking about just before we come on, and the question about tracking forever. Like, I know myself, same as you, that if I eat in a day, I can know roughly how many calories I'm at. I know how to tick the box in terms of calories and tick the box in terms of protein. If I want to really get down to the nitty gritty details, then yeah, I'll start tracking back to like everything to the gram, just to sort of recalibrate. Because to me, ultimately, when everybody starts in this journey or starts on a coaching journey, I'll get them to track at the start, and their mind is blown as to how food's made up. They're like, oh my God, I can't believe that the amount of calories that I was eating, like that's in this, this, and this, or what I can get for this amount of calories. And, you know, I was maybe eating 4,000 calories before, but I didn't really realize because I thought I was eating healthy and all I was eating was fucking avocados and nut butter. I'm like, yeah, right, nice one. But, you know, it's that awareness of how food's made up, and you do just start to build up the knowledge. And, you know, like I said, do you need to track all the time? Yes and no. Yes, in the way that it's going to give you, you know, more clarity and you can refine as you go. But knowing the fact of if you do it for that long, you will know how food's made up. Do you know what I mean? You'll know how to put a portion control plate together. You'll know, you know, what size a decent amount of protein is, you know, how to fill your carbs out. And it just comes down to awareness and actually taking the time to understand yourself and understand your body. And I mean, we spend that much time on fucking Netflix and social media and all this shit of just absorbing bullshit information that we don't actually turn around to ourselves and go, I mean, if I take this hour to understand myself a bit better, how much is that going to improve the quality of my life down the line, rather than watching some fucking shit on Netflix? I don't even know what's on. But long story short, roundabout way of saying, it just comes down to the awareness of what your body needs, what's it capable of, and how you can sort of optimize it in every aspect.
I couldn't agree more. And, you know, you hit on that of it's all again comes back to that, you know, spending time for yourself, right? Yes, we get so day-to-day task oriented of so much stuff in the day, but we don't take the time to understand our bodies and ourselves. And I think, you know, getting started from a year ago to today, if you're just getting started in this journey, I think it's important to understand that you start off small and you grow big, right? And so start off small. Hey, I'm going to start counting my calories. I'm going to start understanding what I'm doing. I'm going to look at what my total daily energy expenditure is, which we'll get into some of this in the nutritional aspects. I'm going to, you know, eat this. I'm going to focus on protein centric, you know, foods first. And then I'm going to incorporate just some small weight training or cardio, whatever you want to do, you know, like if it's just walking, whatever you want to do, just incorporate those small things to start this process, and you will have a lot of success with it. I can pretty much guarantee it, but you have to have that mindset there of, you know, if I have just a total shit day, that doesn't make who I am today.
Yeah.
That makes who I am yesterday, because guess what? That was yesterday that ate all that shit. And now today you're in a whole new person that is going forward. You're not going to make excuses. Well, it's just going to be 2 days. It's going to be 3 days. No, you know, as soon as I got done with that bachelor party, after a whole bunch of beers and I slept it off, I woke up the next morning and I was on it, right? I was right back on to my program. I was right back on to my food. I was right back on to working out. You know, and I felt great again, you know, and it's, you know, you want to have time to live life and have fun and all do those things that you want to do. But at the same time, recognize that if you have one shit day, it's not going to, it's, you know, as long as it's not 2 shit days or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 10, you know, you're fine. And we make mistakes. We'll go on like, hey, F it. I'm just going to kill it today. You know, I'm just going to go eat whatever the fuck I want. And that's going to be it. Right. But, you know, again, getting back onto that bandwagon and really understanding that, hey, this is just one day. It's not defining who I am. I think makes you who you are and who you want to be in the future.
Yeah, I think the who you are, like, give a fuck about yourself to the point that you want to change. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can't put it any other way. Like, I can't sugarcoat it or wrap it up for yourself. You know, if you're in a position that you don't feel like you're healthy, or you're lethargic, or you feel like you're overweight, or you feel like you're underweight, or whatever, give a fuck enough to actually do something about it, whether it's just for you or whether it's for your family or people you work with. Like, I can't put it any other way. Like, I'm not here to sort of sugarcoat it in any way. Like, that's ultimately what it comes down to. I think that probably wraps us up in terms of what I want to ask. Obviously, there's a couple of questions on socials there. So do you have them?
Yeah, I got them listed right here. All right. First one comes from Frank. I hear you talk about getting your blood levels checked regularly. What specific levels are you looking for? How often? Do you just use your primary physician, or do you do some kind of at-home or third-party service? I'll speak first if that's good, Ben, and then it go to you.
Yeah.
Yep. So I get my blood work done typically every 3 months. And that's also because, and we'll get into this more on the supplement side and everything else, but I'm riding testosterone, so I'm on testosterone replacement therapy. I had very low testosterone levels for my age. And when I talk about very low levels, it was in the hypogonadism space. I got it there the third time. So it was something where I talked to my primary care physician, and this was a recommendation for, where I was at and what I was doing. So I am on testosterone replacement therapy. So I do get my blood work. Oh, sorry about that. I do get my blood work checked very frequently on that front. But in stating that, if you're not, every 6 months to a year is what I would recommend, for you. Now, again, I'm not a doctor. Obviously, listen to your primary care physician. But what you're looking for in blood work is really a sure tell of how your body's operating. You can do micronutrient testing to see, where you might be deficient in certain areas. Like I just got some micronutrient testing done recently, found that I'm deficient in calcium. So I'm uptaking my calcium intake because I'm not obviously doing that enough. And I don't drink a lot of milk, so that's something that, I recognize it as probably a deficient area for me and where my body's at. So, micronutrient testing is great to understand, like, hey, where you might have some deficiencies in vitamins, minerals, things like that. But what we're looking for, I think is hormonal levels. One of the things that is big is your thyroid functionality is big. So your T3, T4 not necessarily as much, but T3 specifically. And that helps regulate everything from body temperature to your overall metabolism, how you feel. Thyroid hormones are extremely important in all of those aspects around your body. So T3, T4 levels are one area. Obviously things like cholesterol, fat, all of those are important to kind of understand. Sodium, where you might be having too much intake of certain things that might be detrimental to your cardiovascular side. There's also cardiovascular indicators that could show, potential heart issues. Those are big ones. Testosterone levels are also another one. And a lot of times when you're doing panels with your primary care physician, they will not include testosterone as part of that. So you want to, when you're talking to your primary care physician and getting your levels checked, say, hey, I also want to test my testosterone levels as well, just to take a look and make sure everything's good, do a full lipid panel. Those are all, key beneficial things that I would recommend going through. And you can do that through your primary care physician. You can also, I think it's like $40 online. You can go to like a local LabCorp and you can schedule time. Usually they're like a CVS or a Rite Aid. And you go into there and you get your blood work drawn, and it has a full panel there that you can do. You don't need a doctor's order for that. You can just get it done, by yourself if you want to. So those are all key things that I would recommend to get done from that side. Blood work is so important to understand your body, understand some of the key areas where you might have some issues, some health issues that you can correct, very early on, that doesn't become a major problem in the future. And it just gives you a state of where your body's at. It's literally data for your body that you can make decisions on to optimize it.
Yeah, I think there's two sort of sides that we can touch on. Obviously, you and I are in the spectrum that we want to look to see how we can optimize. So, getting your blood work done, we can look at, okay, well, where are we deficient, or where can we bring X, Y, and Z up to an optimal level? Because that's the stage that we're at, and we want to sort of hack our bodies as much as possible that we can get to the place that we're running on full cylinders across the board. The place that I use over here in the UK for my blood work is called MediChex, and I'll just run through quickly what the profile that I get tests. Now, this again is the upper range in terms of, like, it's the ultimate performance blood test. It covers red and white blood cells, clotting status, kidney health, liver health, proteins, diabetes, cholesterol status, inflammation, gout risk, muscle health, iron status, vitamins, thyroid hormones, adrenal hormones, and autoimmunity. Which sounds like a lot. It is. But again, there's two aspects to that of, okay, I can look at it from is everything healthy? Like, am I okay? Do you know what I mean? So that is something that you can look at,
And that's a level of assurance too, right? I mean, that's like, hey, everything's great, good. I feel good about myself. Fantastic, right?
Yeah. And if not, then you can address it, and you can sometimes catch things before, any other time where you get the feeling. And then obviously it comes down to, we're looking to optimize. And again, I now run testosterone replacement therapy, and it is, it's more evident the more meals that I start coaching, especially, across the water, where it is definitely a thing, and it's something that people are concerned about, that, having low testosterone levels. And I think, we'll probably do an entire podcast on this, but the benefits in terms of how you feel about everything is improved from optimizing your testosterone levels. And again, that is just one aspect of the blood panel. So yeah, again, the same, I would recommend every 3 or 4 months to get it checked. If you're in the place that you want to optimize these things, again, you can look into it yourself, do the research, see how to improve these things. Some of them are an easy fix. Some of them are just down to the foods and the dietary, requirements that you have. Some of them you have to supplement with other things. But again, it doesn't hurt to know this information, and you can catch things a lot earlier from getting your blood work done. And, looking at things on a hormonal level is literally how your body runs and how it's put together. And it's a good way to look at optimizing things as well.
God, listen to the Huberman podcast if you can. Like I'm a huge fan of that, but like to understand our bodies.
He needs to stop liking our tweets and just come on. Like, we will have you on.
He said he wants to. I mean, like that he should come on to me symbolizes that we're good. So we're gonna get him on. But it's absolutely fascinating to me that our body is literally just one big chemical compound of just stuff, and it makes it work, and all these things work together in order to. It's just we are incredible machines, like just amazing, but certain things can obviously go wrong, and our environments, everything else that we do, what we're eating, all those things have direct impacts on our bodies and how we build it. And, that blood work is a great understanding of where do I need to make tweaks at, in my food, what I'm eating, what can I do from a supplement perspective if I need that. Again, you might be able to get all of it from food. That's fantastic too. But it's really the well-being of your entire body, and again, the longevity of things. It's that pulse to say, hey, things are going great, or man, I need to do something different because this is not working.
Yeah,
the course correction. All right, we got a second question.
Yeah.
Can you share more on where to get started with weight training? I know there's been mention of Jeff Nippard's program. Anything more for dumbbells only or body weight only, et cetera, et cetera? Ben, I'll toss that one to you because you're the expert on that side. So
there is probably 200 million Google hits if you Google that. If it's a case of you just need a place to get started, you can Google dumbbell workouts, body weight workouts, barbell workouts, gym-based workouts. There's infinite amounts of free information out there. You don't need to specifically go to a coach. You just need to look at what you have in terms of equipment, look at what you have in terms of time, and what you can actually commit to doing. And generally what I find is when you sort of get into that place of you're feeling better, you're starting to see progress, then you get a bit more of an interest, and you're like, okay, well, how can I change this, or how can I make this better, or what can I do to improve this? Or if I only have dumbbells, then maybe I'll get a barbell, and I'll it's a natural progression once you start to feel good. In terms of starting, what I would say is if you don't weight train at all, start with 3 times a week and do a full body workout.
Yes.
Do 2 exercises, 3 sets per muscle group per session, and start with that. And that is literally the basics. If you look at a push movement, a pull movement, a squat movement, a hip hinge movement, and a carry. So they're the 5 main aspects of how I would put a training program together. I mean, we can cover this at some point, but obviously if you Google those things, you'll be able to get the information. And if you structure your workouts around those, that's a decent place to start. What I would say as well is the best sort of advice I can give in terms of progress through weight and resistance training is, number one, track what you're doing, because people are like, oh no, I know what I did last week. I'm like, dude, I don't know what I have for breakfast. You cannot remember how many reps you did at one exercise last week and what the weight was. Write it down. The second thing is give yourself a rep range. So whether it's, 10 to 15 or 8 to 12 or whatever it is, pick yourself a rep range. And then this week, if you know that you get 10 reps at 100 pounds, you need to get 11 or 12 next week. Once you hit the upper rep range of 12 reps, then you up the weight to 110 pounds. Naturally, then you're not going to do as many reps. So you're maybe back down to the lower rep range of 8. And then the next week, you need to go 9, 10. And that progression over time, yeah, it's not sexy being like, oh my God, I got 1 extra rep, but compound interest over time, if we look back now to what we started at weight wise in terms of squat to what we can do now, it's been a year. There's been a lot of shit has changed, but those tweaks over time in terms of, oh, I got an extra rep here, or I add an extra 10 pounds to the bar or whatever, it's got you to the place that you are now. And, if you zoom out on it, you can see it, but being in it and just recording it, yes, it's frustrating, but that's the best way that you can manage it, and sort of constantly striving to get stronger. Flip side of that as well is, if you go 2 or 3 weeks that you're not progressing in weight, because unfortunately we can't progress every single week, every single session. If there is 2 or 3 weeks that go by, then just swap the exercise out. So, a different variation of the same exercise, just make sure you're hitting the same muscle group. And that's, as a start point, 3 times a week, full body, 2 exercises per muscle group, 3 sets, 8 to 12, and just track it and progress from there.
Good one. The one thing I would add to that is, if you could find a trainer, again, I'd like to throw that out there, but if you can find a trainer to help you build those programs and keep you on there, that is good for consistency. If you're struggling with doing it yourself and making the time, a trainer can definitely help you out with that and kind of helping you coach you and building the programs for you. I'll tell you, that's two things that have really helped me out, taking the burden off of me, is one, when I need to work out. Because I'm already in a program that is basically set for me, that I go and I do, and I know I have to go and do it today, or Ben's going to drive down here and beat the crap out of me. Or two, where I'm at calorie wise of what I need to do, like, nutritionally. So, those 2 things have been really beneficial for me, because, like, hey, I have somebody that's working with me to build that out and is monitoring that, my progress based off of that. So, having a trainer can also help out with building those programs.
Yep.
All right, last questions, and I think we're going to wrap up here. So this is from Savino. Constantly counting calories, weighing daily for the rest of my life sounds like a setup for failure. Do you learn to listen to your body, get some intuition at some point to just live healthy without obsessing over numbers? And he also had one more, which was, how do you deal with eating home-cooked foods, at other places, or home-cooked foods in general, like family settings and things to that effect? So I'll hit on the first one. I absolutely think that calorie counting is something that you can do for the rest of your life, and it's not set up for failure. I really honestly, and let me put it in perspective. Even if I don't count calories for that day, I know what's in my head of what I'm actually doing, calorie wise. I know the general average of where I'm at. So I'm always counting calories. I think if we're going to be trying things like keto or intermittent fasting or those other things, you can do a few minutes to count the calories a day. It takes you 20 seconds. Especially if you're eating regular food that you do all the time, literally it's saved in your history. You just search for it, you add it, and you're done. And it's literally a 15-second ordeal. Dedicating 15 seconds prior to eating, is a commitment that I make to myself that I will always do from here on out. Right. So I think it's a structured way of you being able to understand what you're putting in your body and what you need to do to make tweaks of it. Now, in stating that, could you do without calories? I think so. I think you could do it without counting calories, but I think that you can easily slip up into a area that you may not want to and start to go down the path of where you previously were before in the past. So my recommendation to you would be count calories for the rest of your life. Make that a promise to yourself in that mindset side. And this is something that you're going to stick to, because it really is not impactful to my day-to-day life. And just like you have to tie your shoes or put your socks on, or, put underwear on, God willing, those are all things that you do on a daily basis that you have to do, because if you went outside naked, you get arrested. Same thing for counting calories. It's something that I do when I'm about to eat. It's just a habit that I do, just like you fill up a water or you put the napkin under in your lap because you're being proper. Those are things that you do now as part of your daily rituals of day in and day out. And that's to me a commitment to yourself to be successful.
Yeah, I think I have 2 schools of thought in this, and I'm going to be the person that play devil's advocate here. I think that counting calories is the most sustainable way to manage progress long term. Okay, diets will get you from A to B, but somewhere along the line you will be set up for failure. You can't intermittent fast the rest of your life. You can't be on keto for the rest of your life. You can't do all these things for the rest of your life, but you certainly can count calories for the rest of your life. You can build a sustainable approach to food. You can have a non-restrictive lifestyle. You can manage social events. You can manage trips away. All these things you can do simply by monitoring what you're doing, what you're inputting into your body. I think with that as well, it then leads you to what you said, if you don't track that day, you still know what you have. So if you spent 6 months, a year, whatever it is, counting calories, we're creatures of habit. So like I said, I can go and I'll eat all day and I'll know roughly how many calories I'm eating. And if it is a case of I feel like I need to recalibrate because my weight's creeping up or it's creeping down or whatever way it's trying to go, then I can just go back to my MyFitnessPal and track, for a week to sort of go, oh shit, right, okay, well, maybe I'll need to pull it back because I was eating too many donuts or whatever it was. But it's definitely a good tool. Is it a long-term fix? More so than any other way that you can manage food intake, in my opinion. What was the question about the food, about a friend's house, home cooked meals?
Yeah, it's about how do you handle like home cooked meals with family and stuff like that, right? Like how do you have loved ones obviously that love cooking, or I love cooking, whatever it ends up being. How do you handle the cooking aspects of things when maybe the food is not as necessarily healthy? You're having lasagna or pasta or pizza or things to that effect.
Okay, so again, two schools of thought because not every one person's the same. The first side of it would be, if you spend time understanding food and understanding calories, you can roughly eyeball. Like you build up this sort of almost like sixth sense in terms of how calories and how food's put together. So, if it is a case of you're in these social events and you don't want to be the person to whip your scales out and ask them how many grams of this is in it, which is totally understandable, you can begin to eyeball, okay, there's this much of that and roughly about that, and start to put it together on MyFitnessPal. With that being said, I would always overestimate on that front because you don't know what it's been cooked in, oils and, secret ingredients and whatever else. Flip side of that is, if these social events are happening and you're counting your calories, that then you can maybe pull back and bank some calories for that event. So my sort of go-to for that would be, you can always bank up to 20% of your calories up to 3 days before the event. So, depending what your calorie count is, if you have an event on Saturday and you eat 2,000 calories normally, 20% of that's going to be 400 calories, which is going to give you an additional 1,200 calories on that day on top of your 2,000, which gives you 3,200 calories. And I mean, if you're going to start taking the piss with that, then, start to have a look at yourself. But again, that comes down to taking the time to actually understand what you need, what way food's made up, and how many calories you're actually consuming. And it's just an understanding and awareness of food. You're on mute.
My bad. Sorry. I was sipping something to drink and I didn't want to be like, no, I couldn't have said it any better. It's that, ability for you to control the food that you're eating, portion size, understanding the calories around it. Even if you eat out, there could be a jambalaya there that's going to be 1,500 calories, or there could be a steak there that's going to be, 40 grams of protein and, 700 calories. So what am I going to choose? I'm going to choose the steak, even though, having jambalaya and eating 1,500 calories would be awesome. I'd feel stuffed afterwards. I'd go home and crash from a carb, overload. But, I'm making the conscious decision to do that. Or if I'm going to eat something unhealthy, I'm going to do it in a very small portion size of that, so that, hey, it fits into my macro calories. Like yesterday, a good example, I was opening up that basketball facility I was talking about. And, I had brought myself a protein bar. I had already eaten that. There was no food available to me, and there was some other stuff. And I was looking at it, I'm like, well, there's a thing of M&M's, peanuts there, and that's, 260 calories. And I'm like, I still got like 2,000 calories to go, and I got plenty of protein in. So, you know what? I'm going to have this, this M&M peanuts, and I'm not going to even think twice about it because it's not a big deal. So it's a matter of fitting it into your day-to-day routines and what that means. And, for me, I eat separate meals than my family personally. But that has changed because my wife now eats the same meals as I do because she switched over to Tavala, as well. And same thing for my kids. So, we all now eat the same things because we're all more healthier in our what we do in our day-to-day lives. But it wasn't always that way. They'd have, whatever, crazy lasagna or pizza for dinners and stuff like that. And I just, I wouldn't eat it. I would just eat something different. Right. So it's just, making the time for yourself and making the right decisions to support that. So.
Yeah, I think ultimately, and we can finish on this, to talk about Jocko again, it's the discipline equals freedom. If you have the discipline to track your food, it gives you the freedom down the line to, have a bit more, less restriction or whatever it is. And that's ultimately what it comes down to.
Absolutely. That's
Done.
it. We're done.
Mic drop.
Man, we were like, hey, this is going to be like a half hour, maybe another hour again. We can talk forever.
Yeah.
Oh, great questions, though, from folks. I appreciate the feedback.
Yeah, I think we should definitely have this sort of Q&A style, maybe once a month as a bonus episode, but I think it was fitting today to mark our 1 year anniversary.
Yeah, it's been 1 year, man.
Yeah. I don't know when we'll release this, but anyway, they'll know. but yeah, anyway, thanks for the past year. I'm looking forward to another year.
Dude, thank you for everything you've done for me and my success. I definitely couldn't have done it without you. So thank you so
Your
much.
success is my success, and that's what it comes down to. You're the one on the ground putting the work in. Like, I'm just the puppet master giving you the tools. You know what I mean?
And I'm going to beat you today in deadlift, so we'll see.
Yeah, whatever. I did 10 pounds. I did 10 pounds more than whatever you're imagining right now. Right, cool. Thanks for listening, everybody. Catch you soon.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Take care.
Yeah.